Now to a NewsNation exclusive on the fight to bring home an American service member being held in Japan. Navy Lieutenant Ridge Alkonis has been in prison since last summer for a car crash in 2021. 2 people died as a result. He and his family say he suffered a medical emergency and he was unconscious when he lost control. Joe Khalil is live for us on Capitol Hill this morning with more on the push to release him. Good morning to you, Joe.
Hey, good morning. And that push is not exactly going well. We spoke exclusively here at NewsNation to Brittany Alkonis, the wife of Lieutenant Ridge Alkonis, the mother to his 3 kids, and frankly, his strongest advocate. And she spoke today with the National Security Council, with this working group put together that's trying to get him back to the United States. And she says very honestly that after that conversation with the National Security Council, she's not any more confident that that is going to happen. And that has just been such heartbreaking news for her. She feels like she's hit a wall. It's taken an emotional toll on her kids, and on her husband in prison, who says he can barely even look at the pictures of their family now. It's just too hard. Before we go any further, Marni, I want to let you hear part of that interview with Brittany, and then we're going to talk about the politics of this on the other side.
He said he can't look at those pictures anymore because then when the kids come in, they're so different. They've grown so much. And it's just hard for him to have that reality in his face, how much he's missing. So that's the hardest thing for him. If he were in Russia, if he were in Venezuela, there's a number of countries where people have gotten out recently because the U.S. is willing to stand up and publicly publicly condemn the fact that they're being held and they shouldn't be. But yeah, no one's willing to take the hard line with Japan.
So, look, she has spoken already to President Biden, Vice President Harris, the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan. And it seems after her conversation today, her sense is that there are a lot of politics involved here, that Japan is an ally, right? They're a friend. We're not talking about China or Russia. So it's her sense that the United States is simply not willing to get as tough on a friend like Japan, especially when we need them with our dealings with China right now. And she also mentioned that it's her sense there are Japanese politics involved here as well. The Japanese government actually scores political points with their population when they appear to be tough on the United States, not relenting, not giving up Ridge Alkonis back to the U.S. So all of that has made this incredibly hard for her. Now, I do also want to add that the State Department has not classified this as a wrongful detainment like they have for people who are, again, in Russia and in China and in Venezuela and other places, partly because Japan is an ally. So all of that makes this a much more delicate balance, Marni. And right now, she and her family are struggling, trying to figure out what the next step is in their fight. They know that they're not giving up, she and her advocates, but they're going to be here in Washington in a few weeks, trying to figure out what the smartest way forward is. It's just not clear exactly what their path forward is going to be.
Understandable frustration, Joe. Does Brittany feel like the Biden administration has her back in this fight?
So it's complicated. She does feel like there are elements of the Biden administration that are putting forth a serious effort. And she told me that, she feels like the White House, maybe the State Department are doing a little bit more. She has been frankly disappointed in the Department of Defense, in the military's response under the Biden administration to this. And she says even going back to the arrest and the trial itself, she felt like the Department of Defense didn't really have their families back much. So as she navigates these really difficult sort of diplomatic channels, this isn't somebody who is trained in international diplomacy, but she has sort of become an expert trying to navigate through Washington, through the various departments, whatever it takes, she says, to try to get her husband home, because right now her children don't have their dad, and that is top of mind every single day for this family, Marni.
All right, Joe, we know you'll stay on it. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.